How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying, just give me a second, let me figure this out. What's this? Okay. Okay. Okay, I've made a decision. Today we're studying, drum roll please, Daf Pei of Masechta BavaBasra. Alright, well we're going to start at the top, at the Mishnah, at the top of Daf Pei Amud Aleph. Halikeach peris shovach me chaveiro. Mafriach brecha rishona. Peris kaveris. What time is it? Okay, I think it should be enough time. Nota gimel nechilim umesaris chalis dvash maniach beis chalis zeisim lokutz maniach shtei grofius. Okay. Let's start again. Alukech peris shovach me chaveiro. Okay. Shimon is a breeder. He breeds birds. He breeds doves. Now, chaver, I'm not a breeder. I don't. I don't know much about the art of breeding doves. I did read the Rashbam, however, so I could tell you my understanding of the Rashbam explaining this Mishnah. Be'etzem, apparently the way it works with doves are that so you have like a boy and a girl dove. Okay, now the girl dove, apparently every month it lays 2 eggs, a boy egg and a girl egg, I guess. And every single month it's gonna lay another pair, another group. Now, a group that is born, apparently it takes 2 months, and then they start making groups of their own. Excuse me, Mom. So be'etzem, if Reuven says to Shimon, "Hey, mein breeder, I'm going to buy all your doves for the year." So, be'etzem, every month when there's new doves, Reuven will get them. The thing is, Shimon holds on to, obviously, the grandmother dove, right? The one who's laying all these eggs. But also the first group of eggs. So, let's call them group Reuven, right? So, let's say we're starting in Nisan, and in Nisan there's 2 eggs, and in Iyar there's 2 eggs, Sivan 2 eggs. So group Reuven from Nisan's group, Shimon keeps for himself, and Reuven starts collecting eggs, beginning with Iyar's group, with group Shimon. Okay. So Lakeach Peres Shovach Mechaver. So Reuven is going to be buying the doves of Shimon's dovecote. So Mafriach Brecha Rishona. So Reuven Shimon holds on to group Reuven, to the first group of eggs. Peris Kaveris, Nota Gumanachilim Misaris, when it comes to a beehive. So I guess if Reuven wants to buy Shimon's bees, so apparently bees, I'm not like a beekeeper, but apparently, I guess during bee season, like every 10 days, there's another cohort of bees or something. So Reuven is notel gimel nechilim, so he's entitled to 3 cohorts of bees, misaris, and the Gemara is going to kind of discuss what does it mean misaris. Chalas devash, when it comes to I guess those were like honeycombs. Let me just confirm. I was just assuming they were honeycombs. Let me confirm that this is in fact the case. Drum roll, please. We got any drummers here, Babylon Talmud? Honeycombs, yeah. So I guess like in a beehive, there's like honeycombs, which I guess are like the honeycomb things, I guess. So when it comes to chalas dvash, honeycombs, maniach beis chalas, so Shimon leaves 2 honeycombs there, because that is what the bees themselves are going to eat, right? I'm not like a beekeeper, but I guess like bees, I think the Indian is they create like a lot more honey than they actually could possibly eat. So basically Shimon leaves enough for them to eat, but all the rest is what Ruvain is buying. Zeisim lakutz maniach shtei grofios. And if he wants, I think it's olive wood, I think that was to cut, right? I think that's what it is. Let me confirm that as well. If one bought olive trees to cut for lumber, yeah, okay. So Shimon retains 2 branches. All right, that was an awesome Mishnah. Oh, so our Mishnah had said that if Reuven is buying Shimon's doves, so Shimon holds on to the first group of birds, right? Group Reuven, that are from Nisan. Shimon holds on to that. However, we have a brisa that says Brech Rishona Vishnia. The second group as well, group Shimon as well. So Shimon would hold on to group Reuven of eggs as well as group Shimon of eggs, apparently. So Amr of Kahana lo kasha ha le'ima. Interesting. So actually what it means is it depends if we're talking about from the grandmother or from the mother. Meaning what happens is, okay, so Shimon he's a breeder, okay, and Reuven's buying doves from Shimon the breeder. So we're saying Shimon is breeding a particular, starting with I guess a particular dove, and then that dove in Nisan has 2 eggs, okay, and then another 2 eggs in Iyar, Sivan, Tammuz, etc. So Shimon holds on to group Reuven from Nisan, okay, and then from group Shimon from Iyar and on, that already goes to Reuven. Now, 2 months later, I guess Nisan, Iyar, Sivan, I guess already in Tammuz, I guess, right? 2 months later, group Reuven from Nisan is already going to start having its own eggs. So we're saying that we'll leave those eggs as well, right? Group Reuven of group Reuven, right? So meaning the mother dove had, it feels almost like Masechta Kinim in some ways, but different. It's just birds, or I guess a little complicated. Whatever. Anyways, so you have like a gans mishpach over here. Yeah, you have 3 generations of birds. You have like the grandmother bird, and then the grandmother bird had these initial eggs from Nisan. Now 2 months later, those eggs have hatched, and they now have their own eggs. And we're going to leave group Reuven of group Reuven, group Reuven's group Reuven. All that stays for Shimon. So therefore, from the perspective of the grandmother dove, so then it's Brech Rishon Vishnia. From the perspective of the sort of daughter dove, the mother dove, so then it'll be like the middle generation dove. It's just one group, right? So our mission is talking about, it says, it's talking about the first one, the first group. So that's from the perspective of sort of the middle generation. So again, V'atanya, we learn in a Brisa Brech Rishon Vishnia, 2 generations. So Amar Rav Kahana lo kashu lo haleima. So it depends. From the perspective of the grandmother dove, so it's 2 generations. From the perspective of sort of the middle generation, it's only 1 more generation. Mashna ima. But we say, why do we need to leave kind of 3 generations? Mashna ima dimitztavso abarto ve'azuga dishavkinon la. So we say that, from the perspective of the grandmother dove, so we kept the first group because what's the concern? Why I don't think I said this. Why do we keep? I feel like my brain's a little scatterbrains right now, but whatever. the question I think is the question is why do we have to leave any of these doves at all? So the point is because, well, if they fly away and we lose them, then Shimon's out of business. So therefore, Shimon wants to make sure that at least the grandmother is going to stick around, so that there's going to be more egg laying. So therefore, we say by leaving the first group, her first eggs, so then between her husband being there and the first group of eggs from Nisan, that's enough sort of incentive to keep the grandmother dove there. And now, so we want to assume, so the Gemara's question is, why do we need 3 generations? Why don't we say that just like for the grandmother dove, between her husband and her daughter, it's enough to kind of keep the mishpacha from flying away. So then, why don't we say the Zel Bazach by the first group, which is that the first group, nobody's going anywhere, because between the husband of the first group as well as the mother being there, nobody's going anywhere, and therefore everyone's going to stay put. They have the little mishpacha over there, and they'll continue making eggs. So why do we need 3 generations? Shouldn't the 2 generations be enough between the mother and the daughter and the daughter and the mother? So again, Maishna ima de mitztavsa abarta ve'azuga. When it comes to the grandmother dove, so she's going to stick around because she's got her daughter as well as her husband. Tishavkinan la, and that's going to leave her around. Inami. So why don't we say the Zel Bazach by the daughter? Titztavsa ima ve'azuga, between her husband and her mother, she's not going anywhere. Tishavkinan la. And that I think the point is that they're going to stick around. So ima abarta mitztavs abarta ima lo mitztavs. The difference is the mother is going to stick around on account of the daughter. The daughter is not going to stick around on account of the mother. So therefore, it's not right. So while the mother will stick around for her husband and her daughter, the daughter might have her husband, but maybe they'll fly off into the sunset together. So therefore, we say also keep her first group around, so that way, both of those generations have sort of incentive to stick around, and then Shimon can stay in business, and Reuven gets all the other birds. All right, woo! That was like only a few lines of Gemara, but it took a while. All right, so we said that by the beehive. So there's 3 cohorts and then misaris. We're going to have to explain what's going on. So the assumption right now is it means that you basically make them have no more bees. Right? The bees are going to have 3 cohorts of offspring. And then that's it for the bees. So misaris. And how do you make the bees impotent? So Omar Rav Yehuda, Omar Shmuel Bechardel, with mustard. You feed them mustard. And they say in Eretz Yisrael, the name of Rabbi Yosef Bechina, Lo Chardo Masarsin, it's actually not the mustard that kind of makes them impotent. Ela mitoch shapian chad chozos va'ochlos is duvshanim. So it sounds like, according to Rav Yehuda, Omar Shmuel, it sounds like meaning they eat mustard, and then that somehow makes them not be able to procreate anymore. But in Eretz Yisrael, they would say in the name of Rabbi Yosef B'Chanina that actually the mustard isn't some kind of like potion. Rather, I'm reading that again, but because the mustard is sharp, and the bees now need to like counter the mustard, so chozos v'ochlos is dushana, then they go and eat all their honey, and then they get like lethargic, and they aren't procreating. All right. Rabbi Yochanan Omar says Rabbi Yochanan. So Rabbi Yochanan has a different definition of Masarsin. He says Masarsin doesn't mean to make them impotent, sterile, but rather Masarsin is literally just describing the sale. Rabbi Yochanan Omar notal shlosha nechilim b'seirus, meaning to skip. That meaning, the first cohort would go to Reuven, the second cohort would go to Shimon, the third cohort would go to Reuven. The 4th cohort would go to Shimon. The 5th cohort would go to Reuven. The 6th cohort would go to Shimon. Right? So shlosha nechilin b'seirus. Right? So it's 3 nechilin, 3 cohorts, but kind of, ultimately 6 cohorts, meaning because Reuven receives 3 cohorts, but like switching off with Shimon. Satana, we learn in a brisa notel gimel nechilin boza achar. Rather, so we learn in a brisa that actually what happens is Ruvain gets the first 3 cohorts, right? He buys the rights to the first 3 cohorts of bees, and mikam ve'elach notel achas umaniach achas. Then afterwards they switch off. I think Shimon gets 1, Reuven gets 1. All right, sounds good to me. Chalus devash maniach shtei chalis v'chulei. So when it comes to honeycombs, so you leave 2 honeycombs for the bees. Rav Kahana says, Devash bikaveres eino yotze midei meichel leolam. Says Rav Kahana that honey in a beehive, is considered ochel, and therefore it becomes tamei. It's a shaykh to tumas ochlin. And it's always going to remain that way. Honey in a beehive is considered ochel, and therefore it's shaykh to tumas ochlin, and it will always remain that way. L'neitzach nitzochim. Al maksave lo boi machshove, which means that Rav Kahana holds that you don't need to do anything. You don't have to have any special intentions to treat this honey as food. No. By default, honey in the beehive is considered ochel. It's mitami tumas ochlin, mitami tumas ochlin. All sorts of tumas ochlin apply to it. Memele. You don't have to have special intentions. Meisvei, but we have a kasha and Rav Kahana. Rav Kahana is an Amor. We have a kasha and a brisa. What's it going to be? Should I make you wait? Is the suspense killing you? Is it eating you up inside? Meisvei dvash b'kaveres eino lo ochel v'lo mashke. Oof, that's a tough one. It's a tough one for Rav Kahana. Rav Kahana said that the honey in the beehive is considered ochlin, and yet we have a brisa that says dvash b'kaveres, honey in a beehive, eino lo ochel v'lo mashke, is not ochel and it's not mashke. Oh, what's Rav Kahana going to do? Rav Kahana says that it is ochel. We have a brisa saying it's not. Oy vavoy. Omer Abaye lo tzricha leosan shtei chalis. Says Abaye that the brisa that says that it's not considered ochel or mashke is specifically the 2 honeycombs that he leaves for the bees to consume. Those 2 are not ochel; they're for the bees. They're not for us. So they're not ochel, they're not mashkin. Those 2 honeycombs says Abaye that you leave for the bees. Yeah, those are not ochel, but the rest of the honey would be considered ochel, and that's what Rav Kahana is referring to. The rest of the honey. I'm telling you, Chaver, my brain is like, I don't know what it is. It's as if it's just like absent. Okay. Ravi Omar Rabbi Eliezer Ravi says that the brisa that says that it's not considered ochel, it's not considered mashkin, is like Rabbi Eliezer that we learned recently. The Tanan that we learned in Mishnah, Kaveres Devorim. When it comes to a beehive, Rabbi Eliezer says, Rabbi Eliezer, Arei kikarke. It's considered like property, like land. Karke. I'm telling you, my brain, I don't know. Karke. How do you say karke? Land? No, I feel like there's earth. Karke. That we treat a beehive like karke. If Shimon lends Reuven $1,000, and it's there's nechasim mishubadim, and Reuven has a beehive, that's enough. You can write a pruzbul. Okay, Reuven has property, because of course you only write a pruzbul if Reuven has property. That's meshubad. And when the beehive is connected to the ground, it's not makabel tumah, because karka ain't makabel tumah. Karka is not makabel tumah. And if you extract honey from the beehive on Shabbos, you can be chayiv for, I assume it's a kind of dush. Okay. But I think maybe it might be tolesh actually. Chayiv chatos. What Chacham say, switch around the words a little bit. Eino kikarka, that no, it's not considered like karka. Ve'ein kos v'naleh pruzbul, and we don't write a pruzbul for it. Umikabelis tumah mukama, and it's not karka, therefore it's mikabel tumah, where, I guess when it's still on the ground. V'arodim ben Shabbos potter. And if you chaparan honey from the beehive on Shabbos, you be potter, because it's not like you're extracting it from the ground. Amar Belazar says, my time with Rabbi Eliezer. Why does Rabbi Eliezer say that it's like karka d'chsiv, as the pasuk says, "Vayitpol also b'yaris advash," that Yehonasan dipped his staff in the yaris advash, v'chibayin yar eitz advash. What's the deal with forest by honey? Lo malach t'sediu ma yar atolish menu b'Shabbos chayiv chatas. Just like if you pluck epis from a forest on Shabbos, you be chayiv chatas. Avdover avdvash haroda mimenu b'Shabbos chayiv chatas. So oichid by honey. If you extract honey from the beehive on Shabbos, you be chayiv chatos. So, therefore, so remember, Rav Kahana had said that honey in the beehive is considered ochel forever. We have a brayso that says honey in the beehive is not ochel, it's not mashke. So what's the deal? So Abaye says, well, that's referring to the two honeycombs that you leave behind for the bees. Yeah, it's not ochel, it's not mashke. Rava says that the brayso is Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer says that that a beehive is considered karka, and since it's karka, it's not ochlin or mashkin. It's land, it's ground, it's karka. So therefore, that's why it's not ochlin, it's not mashkin, because that brayso is dafka according to Rabbi Eliezer. Meisvei, we have a kasha dvash azov mikavarto. So if you have honey that flows from the beehive, so it's no longer in the beehive, it's flowed from the beehive. Eino lo ochel v'lo mashke is neither ochel nor mashke. So bishlam l'Abaye nicho. So according to Abaye, it's fine. According to Abaye, it's fine. Why is it fine according to Abaye? It's fine according to Abaye because Abaye says that the two honeycombs that are left there, those are not considered. Meaning, so if Kana says that the honey in the beehive is considered ochel forever. Here we're saying that honey that flows from the beehive is not ochel, it's not mashke. So Abaye will say, there were the two honeycombs that you leave for the bees. If that flows out of the beehive, that was never ochel, so it's not ochel, it's not mashke. Rava Kash, but I don't understand according to Rava, because Rava says that the reason why it's not ochel, it's not mashke is because the beehive itself is considered karka, but once it flows out of the beehive, it's no longer considered karka, so it should become ochel, according to, right? I mean, if Rav Kana is correct that the honey in the beehive is ochel, and that brayso which says that it isn't ochel is dafka Rabbi Eliezer, but once it flows out of the beehive, it's no longer karka, so it should be considered ochel at that point. So bishlam l'Abaye nicha. So according to Abaye, it's fine, right? Because we said that it's talking about the honeycombs, which were never considered ochel. El Rava kasha, but according to Rava, it's a problem. It's a kasha on Rava because Rava had said that the reason why it would not be considered ochel is if it's considered karka. Once it flows out of the beehive, it's no longer karka, so it should be considered ochel. Rav Zvid says, "Kigon shezov al gabe klei maus." So Rav Zvid says, well, it's talking about where it flowed directly onto a disgusting vessel. So therefore, you could say, therefore Rava says that brayso which says it's not ochel, it's not mashke, is according to Rabbi Eliezer, that is considered karka, therefore it's not ochel, not mashke. And if it flows out of the honeycomb, then it should be considered ochel mashke because it's not karka anymore, but it flowed directly onto something disgusting, and therefore it would not be considered ochel to be makabel tumah. That it flowed onto like splinters and things like that, so you can't actually eat it. It's all splintery and stuff, so therefore it's not considered. That's why it would not be considered ochel. Meisvei, we have another kasha. Dvash bekavarto, that honey in the beehive, eino lo ocha v'lo mashke, is not, honey in the beehive is not ocha and it's not mashke. Chishev olav la'achila, but if he said, hey, I'm going to eat this honey, mitami tumas ochen, l'mashke mitami tumas mashken. But if he says, hey, I'm going to eat this honey, then it is mitami tumas ochen. If he says that I'm going to drink this, well, then it'll be mitami tumas mashken. According to Abaye, it's completely fine, right? Meaning, what is it? It says the honey in the beehive is not ochel, it's not mashke, meaning the two honeycombs that he leaves for the bees. And then chishav la'olav la. But if he thought, hey, I'm going to eat this or I'm going to drink it, so then it becomes tamei. Beseder. B'shamal Abaye nicha. El Rava kasha. According to Rava, it's a kasha because I understand why the honey in the beehive is not ochel, it's not mashke, because it's considered karka. But I don't care what your intention is. Even if you say, hey, I'm going to eat it, it doesn't change the fact that it's considered karka and it should not be b'tami tumas ochlin. So I'm like Rava. So Rava says, and it's very interesting because I would not have expected such an answer from Rava. But Tritzachi answered like this: Chishav olav la'achila eino mitami tumas ochlin. The mashkin eino mitami tumas mashkin. So actually, explain the Brisa as saying that honey in the honeycomb is not mitami tumas ochlin or mitami tumas mashkin because it is considered karka. And even if he has intention that he's going to eat it or drink it, makes no difference. It's karka. It's not mitami tumas mashkin. It's interesting. I feel like Rava is not the type to say, oh, just switch around the words in the Brisa, no problem. I feel like usually if people try to do that to Rava, he says, no, you can't do that. It's not what it says, something else. So interesting. All right. I don't know. It's just like the impression that I had. Anyways, Tani Kavas Rav Kahana, we have Taka Brisa supporting Rav Kahana. Dvash bekavarto, honey in its beehive, mitame tumas ochlin, Shalom machshava, is mitami tumas ochlin memela, even without any specific intention to eat, for it to be ochlin. Okay, very good. Zeisim lokus manech shtei grufius. All right, so if you have olives and you're gonna cut off like the branches for lumber, so you gotta leave two branches. If Reuven buys a tree from Shimon for lumber, so you can chop it down 1 tefach off of the ground. B'sulas hashikma, a unpruned sycamore tree, gimel tefachim, so 3 tefachim off the ground. Stan hashikma, a pruned sycamore tree, base tefachim, 2 tefachim off the ground. B'konim v'gefonim, with reeds and vines, from the knot in the vine and upwards, by palm trees and cedar trees, chofer umesharesh, you simply just dig them up because the fish and gizon machlit, because they're not going to grow back, a palm tree or a cedar tree. Is it really true that in unpruned sycamore tree, it's 3, you have to cut it 3 tefachim off the ground? We have a contradiction. We don't cut down a unpruned sycamore tree during Shemitah, because it's avoda, it's working the land. Rabbi Yehuda Omer says, Kidarko, also you can't do it in its regular manner, Ella rather, either Magbio Yud Tfachim V'Kotzetz, either cut it 10 Tfachim off the ground, or Gomem Me'ima Aretz, or you cut it down like right at the bottom by the ground. Me'ima Aretzu Dekashi, so if it's mamish right next to the ground, so then that's no good. But meaning in general that would be considered bad, and therefore you're allowed to do it during Shemitah because it's not a normal way of doing it. Ha'idach Maile law, but anything above off the ground would be considered fine. So why are we saying 3 tefachim? Even less than that should be fine. So Amar Abaye says, Abaye Gimel tefachim Maile law, that 3 tvachim off the ground is really the sweet spot. Meima aretz vade koshila, and mamish just like right by the ground is not going to be good for the tree. Mikan ve'elach, and between right off the ground and 3 tvachim lo makshi koshila vilav aluya ma'ilila. It's nishtei nishtei. It's neither good nor bad. So on Shemitah, we'll do something to the tree that is definitely bad for the tree, so that it won't be considered work in the land. When it comes to doing business, we'll do something that is good for the tree, and that would be 3 tvachim off the ground. By palm trees and cedar trees, you just dig them up. The fish ain't gizon machlif, because their stump is not going to grow back. Ve'erez ein gizo machlif. By a cedar tree, its stump won't grow back. V'hadar shabchia bar lulyoni ma'idich. So what does the pasuk mean? Tzadik katomer yifroch. That the righteous fellow is like a palm tree. He will sprout forth. Keres balvon and yisge, like a cedar in Lebanon. He will yisge. Im nemar tomer loma nemar eres. If we're already talking about a palm tree, why mention a cedar tree, right? It's tzadika tomer yifrach ke eres bavon. What do we need too? It's a lot of trees. No, if you already mentioned a palm tree, shouldn't that be enough? Why you got to mention the cedar? V'im nemar eres loma nemar tomer. And if it says cedar, why does it have to say anything about the palm tree? Just choose one. Ilu nemar eres. Well, if it only says cedar and it didn't say palm tree, I would say, ma'erez ein ose peiros. Well, just like a cedar tree doesn't have any fruits, av tzadik ein ose peiros. A righteous fellow doesn't make fruits. Therefore, it says tomer, because tomer makes fruits, and so does a righteous fellow. If all it said was a date palm, it didn't say cedar, I would say, well, just like a palm tree, its stump doesn't grow back. A righteous fellow, his stump doesn't grow back. Therefore it says eres, because eres is something that grows back. So we see that a cedar is something that does grow back. So here, what are we talking about? B'shar mine harazim. So when we say that it doesn't grow back, it's by other kinds of cedars. Rabba Barafuna, like Rabba Barafuna to Amar, Rabba Barafuna Amar Bei Rab Yud Mine Harazim Hem. There are 10 kinds of cedars. Shenem, as the pasuk says, Etin Bamidbar Erez Shita V'Hados Veit Shemen Osim V'Gomer. Okay, now I'm going to switch to the art scroll for the rest of the daf, because I don't know the translations of all of these things. And here we are. Erez is Arza. Erez is a cedar tree, okay. Shita Toranisa. Shita is a pine tree. Oh, that's nice. Hadas Asa. Hadas is a myrtle. That's nice. Eitz Shemen Afarsima. Eitz Shemen is a reference to a parsimonious balsam tree. Brosh Brasi. Brosh is boxwood tree. Tidar Shaiga. Tidar is a fir tree. Usa'asher Shurvina, and a ta'asher is a Shurvina tree. Hanizaina, but these are only 7. We need 10. Because Rav Dimi Amar, when Rav Dimi came, he said, Asifalin Alonim, Almonim, Almugim. Well, they also added Alonim, Almonim, and Almugim. Alonim Botne, Alonim are elm trees. Almonim Blute, Almonim are oak trees. That's nice. Almugim are Ksisa, coral. You could those say Aronim, Armonim, Almugim. Aronim Are, Aronim is laurel trees. Armonim Dulve is chestnut trees. Oh, that's nice. Almugim Ksisa is coral. That was Daf Pei of Masechta BavaBasra. Hope you enjoyed. Peace out.